What's up, guys? So, it's a moderately nice day out here. So, I've been trying to find the most cogent, cohesive, coherent way to explain how I feel about the events that happened in Minnesota with the murder of George Floyd, the events that are happening in my own town that I live in and call home, which is Omaha, Nebraska, with a young man named James Scurlock, and just the events of everything surrounding that. And it's taken me a week because initially, when these things started to happen, because African Americans and black people in general, as the whole diaspora, have seen these things go on since literally the establishment of this country and this world, I was just tired. I was just emotionally drained, and I didn't know how to put my feelings into a cohesive understanding of what's going on. So, let's take it back. Let's go back a few years to when Colin Kapernick started taking a knee on the football field to protest the exact thing that ended up happening to George Floyd and Eric Garner and, in a sense, Trayvon Martin, because George Zimmerman saw himself as some sort of law enforcement neighborhood watch super cop. Let's go back all the way to that, and I can remember our commander-in-chief, and I hate that this is the case, but he is still in the White House. I refuse to call him by that other name that starts with a P and ends with a T. But our person in the White House called those two sons of bitches. Get those sons of bitches off the field. They should be fired. They should be fired. Those were his exact words, right? So, he was subsequently fired and hasn't worked in the NFL since. But his whole, I guess, alliteration of circumstance at that point was to point out that police brutality is a real thing. That brutality in and of itself is a real thing. And we can't ignore that anymore. Especially with what happened in Minnesota. And in some sense, even though with the whole James Scurlock incident and murder, it wasn't at the hands of a police officer. But brutality itself exists. How else can you have Botham John get shot by a cop in his own home? How else can you have Breonna Taylor get shot in her own home? It is not a slogan of convenience that we say Black Lives Matter. It is because we are essentially saying Black Lives Matter too. Black lives should matter equally. And we will fight, and we will argue, and we will converse to make sure that that is the case, that equality is the case in the future. civil disobedience is okay. I want it understood, though, that I do not condone rioting. I do not condone looting, but I do understand the anger and the frustration inside the reasoning why looting and rioting are happening. And let's be clear. Some of the looting and rioting are being done by outside forces who are being brought in specifically to be anarchists. But for those that are looting and rioting because of their anger just simply boiling over at a system that systematically has never been designed to work for black people, I'm not condoning it, but I do understand it. What are you supposed to do when you've talked and talked and talked for decades and centuries and years and everything, and no actionable solutions have been addressed toward the same problem we were dealing with back in the days of the civil rights movement, of Jim Crow, and of slavery. What are you supposed to do when your grievances have not been addressed or taken seriously for years on end and decades on end? What are you supposed to do? How are you supposed to react? And for my white friends who sit and say nothing and just sit and say, oh, isn't that sad, and don't get involved and don't have the conversation, your silence is noted and it's deafening. Rest in peace, George Floyd. Rest in peace, James Scurlock. Rest in peace, Breonna Taylor. Rest in peace, Trayvon Martin. Rest in peace, Eric Gardner. Rest in peace, Emmett Till. Rest in peace, Martin Luther King. Rest in peace, Malcolm X. Rest in peace to all those whom I didn't mention, whom have been going through this for years. Rest in peace to Sandra Bland. This has got to become a case of actionable intelligence on the part of all Americans and actual visible action being taken as far as the delegation of how to get laws passed to see that this doesn't happen again. Maybe defunding police departments is the way to go. But my question with that is, what kind of structure will we build in that stead if that is the way to go? How will we police ourselves in our own communities? There has to be some kind of enforcement there. But maybe defunding the police department as a whole is a way to go. I don't know. Anyway, I just have questions, want answers, and I don't want them tomorrow. I don't want them 10 years from now. I want them now. And if you are white and you don't understand why people are so angry over the death of George Floyd, or if you're like Candace Owens and you're black, but try to have a cogent argument as to why you don't stand with the protests to make sure that there's justice for George Floyd, then I have nothing to say to you. You are insignificant to me, and you cannot be a part of the change that I want to see in this country and in this world, because you're too close-minded to do so. But we do need to have a conversation, but the action needs to follow immediately after the extensive and deep and uncomfortable conversations that we need to have. We need to make sure that our legislatures locally, that our mayors locally, that our judges locally understand that the time for just talk, the time for just conversing and then moving on until the next black body is dead is over. Thank you for your time. Everybody be safe. Have a great day. And if you are going to go out and protest, please be safe in all aspects. Wear your masks and just do whatever you have to do to make sure you get home safe to your family. Okay. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.